Türkçe, sonrası İngilizce devam edecek. O yüzden şimdilik Türkçe başlıyoruz. Panele geçtiğimizde İngilizce olarak devam edeceğiz. Öncelikle herkese hoş geldiniz diyorum. Aynı zamanda şu anda canlı yayın üzerinden de bizi dinleyenler var. Sitemizden bu aktivite canlı olarak da yayınlanıyor. Bugünkü aktivitemizin iki boyutu var. Bunlardan birincisi SETA olarak bizim 6 ciltlik Batı Balkanlar üzerine yaptığımız anlama kılavuzları setini bugün kamuoyuyla paylaşıyoruz, kamuoyuna tanıtıyoruz. Bununla beraber bu açılışı, bu tanıtımı Batı Balkanları bölgeden uzmanlarla ve aynı zamanda Avrupa Birliği perspektifinin de olduğu bir platformda tartışmayı istedik. Böylelikle daha canlı ve daha güncel bir perspektif kazanabiliriz. Belki yeni fikirler edinebiliriz, yeni bakış açıları edinebiliriz diye düşündük. O açıdan bugünü hem bir kitap tanıtımı hem de Batı Balkanların tartışılacağı, ele alınacağı bir orijinal aktivite olarak görmekte yarar var. SETA olarak öncelikle açılış konuşmasını yapmak için Sayın Genel Koordinatörümüz Profesör Doktor Burhanettin Duran'ı davet ediyorum.
Değerli katılımcılar, hoş geldiniz. Tabii dünyanın kamuoyu Orta Doğu'ya odaklanmışken ve birçok düşünce kuruluşu olarak, birçok düşünce kuruluşu gibi biz de Orta Doğu'ya odaklanmışken Batı Balkanları temel alan bir yayın yapmış olmak bizim için ayrıca bir mutluluk verici gelişmedir. Güncel olanı sadece yakalamak değil, aynı zamanda orta ve uzun vadeli çalışmalar yapmak açısından güzel bir çalışma oldu diye düşünüyorum. Arkadaşlarımız Mehmet Uğur Ekinci ve Nedim Emin bu şekilde 6 ciltlik bir çalışmayı yaparak bu anlamda Türkçe literatüre güzel bir katkıda bulunmuş oldular. Bir kere öncelikle Türkiye'nin dış politikasının özellikle Balkanlarda entegrasyonu, işbirliğini ve barışı hedeflediğini biliyoruz. Türkiye'nin klasik olarak belirlemiş olduğu komşu ülkelerle sıfır sorun politikasının aslında istenildiği şekilde gerçekleştiği bölge olarak görebiliriz Balkanları. Tabii bu politikanın oturabilmesi için bölgedeki istikrar da önemli. Bu çerçevede Türkiye'nin Balkanlardaki güvenliği ve işbirliği Avrupa Birliği süreciyle beraber ele aldığını görüyoruz. Bu Avrupa Atlantik kurumlarına katılım çerçevesinde Balkanların bir istikrar adası haline gelmesi arzu ediliyor. Bilindiği üzere 90'ların sonundan itibaren Balkanlarda bir istikrar oluştu ve bu istikrarın bazı ülkelerde o kadar da kuvvetli olmadığı bir takım sıkıntılar olabileceğini biliyoruz. Bu yüzden Türkiye'nin kendisi de inisiyatif alarak Sırbistan, Hırvatistan ve Bosna Hersek arasında bir işbirliğini ve güvenliği temel alacak görüşmelerde aktif olduğunu biliyoruz. Bu çerçevede de SETA Vakfı olarak Yurtdışı Türkler Başkanlığı ile yapmış olduğumuz bu çalışma için onlara da teşekkür ediyoruz. Umarım bu toplantı Batı Balkanları anlamak üzerine hazırlanmış olan bu kılavuzların devamını getirecek bir enerjiyi, sinerjiyi oluşturmuş olur. Ben tekrar hepinize hoş geldiniz diyerek konuşmacılara da bu panele katıldıkları için teşekkür ediyorum ve şimdiden fikirlerini ifade edecekleri için onlara da teşekkür ediyorum.
Evet, biz de teşekkür ediyoruz. Bu projenin gerçekleşmesinde aynı zamanda kritik rol oynayan bir kurum var. Başbakanlık, Yurtdışı Türkler ve Akraba Topluluklar Başkanlığı. Eğer bu kurumdan destek almamış olsaydık bu büyüklükte ve bu nitelikte bir yayın ortaya çıkarmamız da mümkün olamayacaktı. Ben şimdi de sahneye bu kurumu temsilen Başkan Yardımcısı Sayın Mehmet Köse Bey'i davet ediyorum.
Merhabalar değerli katılımcılar. katılımcılar, saygıdeğer misafirler.
Mikrofon tecrübesi tabii önemli bu konuda. Öncelikle SETA'ya böyle bir çalışmayı, Balkanları derinlikli bir şekilde araştıran, inceleyen ve özverili katkılarıyla bu çalışmaya destek veren arkadaşlara, hem yöneticilerine hem araştırmacılarına teşekkür ediyorum. Tabii Balkanlar deyince Türkiye'de herkesin aklında, herkesin hayalinde çok farklı şeyler canlanır. Balkanlar Türkler için ve Türkiye'deki herhangi bir vatandaş için çok farklı anlamlar ifade eder. Bugün baktığımız zaman Türkiye'de Balkanlar ve Türkiye arasındaki ilişki, tarih, uzun yıllara dayanan ilişki, iç içe geçmişlik, etkileşimi, kültürel yakınlaşmayı çok daha toplum hayatında, gündelik hayatta, kültürel kodlarda bunu çok daha fazla görmemizi görmekteyiz. Bugün Balkanların neresine giderseniz gidin, Türkiye'deki herhangi bir şehir İstanbul, Bursa'dan çok farklı olduğunu görmeyeceksiniz. Bunun yemek kültüründe, kültürel kodlarda bunu çok rahat bir şekilde hissedeceksiniz. Tabi bu tarihi yakınlaşma, kültürel benzeşme aynı zamanda siyasi ekonomik ilişkileri de yoğunlaşmasını getirmekte. Coğrafi yakınlık, Türkiye'nin Balkanlarla coğrafi yakınlığı insan hareketliliğini, karşılıklı geliş gidişleri de tetiklemektedir. Bugün Balkanlarda Türkiye'deki Boşnak kökenli ve Arnavut kökenli vatandaşlarımızın sayısı Balkanlardaki herhalde Arnavut ve Boşnak nüfusundan az değildir. Bunu Türkiye'nin bölgeyle, coğrafyayla, kültürel ve tarihi yakınlığını ifade etmek için söylemek istiyorum. Tabii Türkiye'nin bölge ülkeleriyle ekonomi, kültür, ortak tarihi miras, eğitim, askeri ve güvenlik gibi birçok alanda geniş işbirliği ve derin ilişkileri mevcuttur. Türkiye olarak biz Balkan politikamızı 4 ana eksende yürütmekteyiz. Bunlardan birincisi üst düzeyli siyasi diyalog. Biliyorsunuz son dönemlerde Türkiye'nin geliştirmiş olduğu yüksek düzeyli işbirliği konseyleri, ülkelerin karşılıklı bakanlar kurulu, ortak toplantılar yapması, bunu Balkan ülkelerinde de yürütmekteyiz. Yunanistan'la birçok anlaşma imzaladık. Bulgaristan'la benzer çerçevede bir ön anlaşmalar, ön fikir birliği oluştu. Diğer ülkelerle de benzer şekilde yüksek düzeyli işbirliği mekanizmaları geliştirme çalışmaları yürümekte. İkinci husus, herkes için güvenlik. Balkanlarda Türkiye herhangi bir toplumun diğer topluma kayırılması değil, ortak ve herkesi kapsayan bir güvenliğin oluşturulmasını hedeflemekte. Bunu da Bosna, Sırbistan ve Hırvatistan üçlü mekanizmasıyla örnek olarak göstermiştir Türkiye. Azami ekonomik entegrasyon, ekonomik işbirliği, ekonomik ilişki istikrarın asli unsurlarından biridir. Türkiye hem bölgedeki istihdamı, ekonomiyi geliştirmeye yönelik yatırımları arttırırken karşılıklı ticari ilişkilerini de arttırmaktadır. Son 10 yılda Türkiye'nin Balkanlarla olan ticaret hacmi 4 milyar dolardan 21 milyar dolara çıkmış durumda. Bunun çok daha fazla ilerleyeceğini düşünüyoruz. Dördüncü başlık ise çok etnikli, çok kültürlü ve çok dinli toplumsal yapıların muhafazası. Bunlar Balkanların çok kültürlük yapısının bir model olduğunu, uzun yıllar huzurlu ve barış içerisinde yaşamış bu toplumun tekrar aynı kültürel kodları canlandırarak yine tekrar bu ortamı yakalayacağına inanıyoruz. Türkiye, Balkanların her bir ülkesiyle ikili ilişkilerine önem vermekte. Bölgenin huzurunu ve barışı için coğrafi ve kültürel yakınlığın sağlamış olduğu tecrübeyle azami katkı sunmaya çalışmaktadır. Tabii aynı zamanda Türkiye olarak hem bölgesel ve küresel işbirlikleri ve örgütlenmelerin yanında bölgenin geleceğine en fazla katkıyı Balkan ülkelerinin kendilerinin söyleyebileceğini, bu anlamda Balkanların özgün işbirliği mekanizmalarını geliştirmesi noktasında gereken hassasiyeti gösterdiğini ifade etmek istiyorum. Bu anlamda bu tip çalışmaların, akademik katkının, think tanklerin coğrafyaya, akademinin coğrafyaya yönelik çalışmalarını yoğunlaştırması ve derinleştirmesini uzun vadeli coğrafyanın barış ve huzuru için önemli görüyoruz. SETA'nın bu çalışmasını bu anlamda stratejik bir adım olarak, bir katkı olarak görüyoruz. Diğer kurumların, diğer think tanklerin de aktif olarak sürece katkı sağlayacağına bundan sonra temenni ederek hepinize teşekkür ediyorum. İyi çalışmalar.
Tekrar çok teşekkürler. SETA olarak bizim daha önce yayınladığımız, başka ülkeler için yayınlamış olduğumuz anlama kılavuzları vardı. Bunlara ek olarak biz Batı Balkanlar üzerindeki bu 6 kılavuzluk seti yayınladık. Bunun da amacı az önce de konuşmacıların ifade ettiği gibi Türkiye'de son zamanlarda bir dış politikada çeşitlenme ve genişleme var. Daha farklı coğrafyalarla ilgilenen farklı kesimler var. Sadece devlet veya bürokrasi kesimi değil, aynı zamanda sivil toplumu veya ekonomik aktörlerin de artık çevre ülkelerin siyasetini daha iyi anlamak istediğini görüyoruz. Bilgiye ihtiyaç duyduklarını görüyoruz. Bu amaçla bir temel metin olması amacıyla ve hem bilgi edinmek isteyenlerin çeşitli amaçlarla başvurabileceği bir kaynak hazırlamak hem de bundan sonra düşünce kuruluşlarının da başta olmak üzere çeşitli araştırma kurumlarının Balkanlar üzerinde daha fazla çalışmasına bir yol açabilmek için bu çalışmaları yaptık. Bundan sonra diğer Balkan ülkeleri ve diğer ülkeler üzerine de benzer çalışmalar yapmayı planlıyoruz. Halihazırda yürüyen çalışmalarımız da şu anda var. Bu konuda bilgi verdikten sonra şunu da söyleyeyim son olarak. Kitaplarımız henüz matbaadan çıktı. Kitapları fuayede görebilirsiniz. Numuneler burada mevcuttur. Tam metinlerine internet üzerinden SETA'nın web sitesinden ulaşmanız mümkün. Bunları kitap olarak edinmek isteyenler varsa da bunlar kitapçılarda, kitap evlerinde satışa sunulacaktır. İlgileneceğinizi, yararlanacağınızı ümit ediyoruz. Burada ben 3 cildin yazarı benim, diğer 3 cildin yazarını da burada gıyabında anmak istiyorum ve teşekkür etmek istiyorum. Bizim Balkanlar Araştırma Asistanımız Nedim Emin Bey şu anda aramızda değiller ama onu da burada tebrik etmek istiyorum yaptığı çalışmadan dolayı. Bunları ifade ettim ve şimdi dilerseniz panelimize, tartışmamıza geçelim ve ben de müsaadenizle dil değiştirip İngilizceye geçmek durumundayım. Thank you. First of all, I would like to welcome all three distinguished participants, two of whom actually came from the Balkans individually, specifically for this panel. And our third speaker is also a diplomat and he has a very tight schedule, so I also thank him for being here. In Turkey, lately there have been some events, some conferences and seminars regarding the Balkans. This is in parallel to Turkey's increasing relations and presence in the region. But with regard to the present-day politics and the future of the Balkans, the number of events have been more limited. So, as SETA, we are organizing this panel to hear the opinions of different parties, different perspectives with regard to the present issues and the course of the Western Balkan politics. So we are very happy to have here three participants from three different countries and institutions. First of all, I would like to leave the floor to Professor Predrag Simic, who is a full professor of international relations and foreign policy at the University of Belgrade and the University of Montenegro. He is also a former ambassador of Serbia to France.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ingi. Hello to everyone. I would start saying that in a few days we would commemorate 25th anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall, the seminal event that ended the Cold War, because in the weeks and months to come after 9th of November 1989, all communist regime all over Eastern Europe fell down. Warsaw Pact and Comecon were dissolved in 1990, and in December 1991 was dissolved even the Soviet Union. So Europe became, as was said these days, whole and free, and future seemed bright for all former communist countries, including former Balkan communist countries, because the future was European integration. It was assumed at the time that those countries, led by transformative power of the European Union, would undergo transition towards human rights, democratic societies, free market economies, and eventually be welcome into European Union. 25 years later, today, as we are preparing to commemorate this event later next week, we have a different picture of the Balkans. Because at the time, Balkan had 6 countries altogether. Today, I don't know the number of the Balkan countries. Frankly speaking, I am teaching foreign affairs and international relations, including the Balkans, but should I say that that Bosnia and Herzegovina is a single country? Should I say that Serbia is a single country? Should I say that Macedonia is a single country? Well, I do not want to open hot issues of the Balkans, but I use that just as illustration of the good news from the Balkans is there is no more war over there. There is no more ethnic cleansing. There is no more violence. People didn't learn to live together, but at least they learned how to live side by side without provoking. Well, not generally without provoking. From time to time, we have drones over stadiums with different, and we turn mad about that. But nobody killed, nobody hurt, so that's good in comparison to 1990s. What happened with this general vision that Balkan is geographical part of Europe and it should become logical part of the political project of United Europe. First event that happened was civil war in Yugoslavia. And I repeat, civil war in Yugoslavia. I deliberately use that term. That found EU unprepared for this sort of emergency. The slogan that started this war in Yugoslavia was Europe now. And in a way, the end of bipolar division of Europe was the end of the international framework of Yugoslavia that used to be a strategical buffer between the blocks, skillfully maneuvering, second Yugoslavia, skillfully maneuvering between the two blocks and eventually emerging as one of the fathers and leaders of the Third World no-light movement. But with the disappearance of Cold War, it seems that disappeared also raison d'etre, the reason of existence of this country, and I could illustrate that, but trying to spare some time, I would. Secondly, what affected was, and this part, civil war or military phase of civil war was over in year 2000. Main actors of the war in Yugoslavia disappeared in 1999 and year 2000. The last one was Slobodan Milošević in Serbia. This was overthrown on 5th of October of 2000. And then there was a great hope that suddenly things would come to its place, and with delay of 10 years, all Western Balkan countries would finally move towards EU. Today we have following situation. Only 2 former Yugoslav republics, 2 states built on ruins of former Yugoslavia, Slovenia and Croatia, are members of European Union. Another 3 or 4, Serbia, Montenegro, or better in this order, Montenegro, which is the closest, Serbia, Macedonia, that have most interest to join, but is completely blocked. And I think that you know the reason. And at the very end is Bosnia and Herzegovina, which is in the midst of nowhere. They just had elections, and after this election situation, it seems as complicated as ever. So there is the dynamic that would keep Bosnia in such situation. Further on, and the image of European Union after 2008, or should I say spring 2009, when the Eurozone crisis started, was tarnished. Especially with the second wave of the crisis of Eurozone, they started in Greece. You remember, not affecting only Greece, but also the Mediterranean belt, and not just Mediterranean belt of EU. And that situation seriously affected all other Balkan countries, triggering the crisis that was, how say, much more complicated than even in EU. Because, I repeat, we started transition process with a delay of 10 years because of the civil war in Yugoslavia, only in 2000. We scored significant success until 2008, 2009, with growth rates of Western Balkan countries averaging 5, even 6%. And that felt initially after 2009 start of Eurozone crisis, and practically is close to zero today since 2011 Greek second phase of Eurozone crisis. The only exception, what I discussed with my friend from Macedonia, is Macedonia expecting to have a 3%, but I think that Macedonians have some second thoughts about value of this relative high growth rate. Serbia had to reduce its calculation of growth rates, initially 2%, 1.5%, 1, 0.5, and probably it will be full-fledged recession. So, since Dr. Ginji is looking at the watch, I would come to what I would like to say. What is Western Balkans now? What remains of European Union? Yes, there is European Union, there is conditionality, there are Copenhagen criteria plus additional criteria for the Western Balkan countries. So far, only Croatia managed to enter a year and a half ago, in June last year. But beyond this unified vision of the EU approach to Western Balkans, if there is unified approach, but colleagues from EU would say probably more on that, we see that three particular EU countries are most present. The most present is now Germany. And whatever is happening in the regional cooperation in the Balkans right now, since September Berlin Conference, and especially relations between two most complicated actors, Serbs and Albanians, is driven by strong pressure and leverage that Berlin and in particular Angela Merkel have over Belgrade, Pristina, Tirana, the whole region. Germany now have clear-cut idea of what it wants to achieve, and we will see. Second, we have France. Tomorrow, Manuel Valls, French Prime Minister, will visit Belgrade, but as a former ambassador to France, I am supposed to be Francophile, but France is not today in the best shape to influence, and beside the famous French-Serbian relationship is a matter of the past. It lives as a myth of alliance of the World War I, but many things has changed ever since. Third is usual ingredient of all Balkan events, United Kingdom. And that's it. United States largely abandoned the Balkans after NATO military intervention in 1999, not altogether, but following its European allies. But then we have to say that today there are another important players in the Western Balkans. Since I'm coming from Serbia, I'm supposed to say that first one is Putin, Russia. that, how say, recovered, re-emerged from dissolution of the Soviet Union, felt humiliated by the NATO eastward enlargement, and I wouldn't like to overstate but the change from the Yeltsin era in Moscow to Putin era more or less coincided with NATO intervention in the Balkans in 1999. A clear challenge to Russia, because Serbia expected that Russia would help. Russia stood aside, and eventually Russia abandoned politically and economically, but wanted to stay economically in the Balkans, mostly through its gas pipelines. Southern Stream is now the hot cake in the events, not only in the Western Balkans. I understood that Brussels just warned Hungary for its enthusiasm about Southern Stream. The Russian Gazprom bought plenty of national oil and gas companies in the Balkans, Serbia and NIS included. So Russia have strong leverage. But I should say that Russian interest, political interest in the Balkan is twofold. On one side, Russia wants to remain present, to support its allies, or would-be allies. But in Kosovo, Russia understood the Kosovo case as a precedent in international relations. And I remember I was then ambassador to Paris. Kosovo declared independence in February 2008. In August, Russia intervened to support South Ossetia and Abkhazia, entered to a short war with Georgia, and that was first demonstration of this post-Soviet Russian power, to be repeated last and especially this year in Crimea, Ukraine. So in principle, Russia accepted the precedent created by Kosovo. That's our understanding. On the third place, I will put your country, Turkey. I would put Turkey because Turkey, with its policy, with strategical depth, with its, we understand that Turkey is one of the great winners of the end of the Cold War. I usually teach my students that Turkey got access to all new Central Asian states short of Tajikistan. I think that they are Persians. All other are Turkic nations. I just had a chance to visit a couple of them this summer, starting with Xinjiang and Azerbaijan. And there is strong development that certainly would benefit Turkey in my perception. Turkey has also its voice in the Muslim world, in the Arab world, especially Middle East world, but recent complexities of the situation in Iraq and Syria is something that you, of course, knows much better than me. And Turkey got present in the Balkans, not only among Muslim population, Bosnia and Serbia, Albania, Macedonia, generally, and created twofold reaction. One is negative. There is a slogan or word, neo-Osmanism. It exists in Greece, it exists in Serbia. Even my good friend, Professor Tatanskovic, has written a rather popular book. On the opposite side, with less historical reminiscences, we just celebrated anniversaries of the Balkan Wars. We are celebrating last 3 years all wars at the beginning of 20th century. And practically our relations after the First Balkan War turned to be very good. King Alexander of Yugoslavia and Mustafa Kemal Pasha were quite close. Albanians believed sometimes too close because they had some ideas to exchange rogue populations. We were members of Ankara Treaty of 1953. Even you might be surprised, Slobodan Milosevic tried to play Turkish cards. His first foreign minister was Vladislav Jovanovic, who was appointed, especially because he was ambassador here in Ankara. And on 25th of November 1991, Milosevic came with Jovanovic here to ask Turkish support to prevent conflict in Bosnia. But it seems that it failed because they played a wrong guy. They played Adil Zulfikar Pasic instead of Alija Izetbegovic. Zulfikar Pasic disappeared, and Izetbegovic turned to be Bosniak leader, and the rest is history. Right now, I would just say one word. In my opinion, after everything that's happened in Bosnia, that's happened in the war, relations between us and Bosniaks are hard to be managed without Turkish presence in the Balkans. And I just came from the conference in Munich. I said that this is something where European EU cannot act as a balancer. Only Turkey is balancing. It's sometimes quite complicated because especially in Serbia, in Sandžak area, with multiple Sandžak leaders, with glamorous Mufti Muharrem Zukorlić playing his role. I have sympathies for his way, even though he unnerved my compatriots quite often. But I think that Turkey is a necessary element even in this part. On fourth place, I would put China. China that had quite good relations. I wouldn't go into that. But China, a couple of years ago, developed so-called 12 points policy, starting to develop relations with East European countries in the format 1+16, with the conference has been held a couple of years ago in Warsaw, last year in Bucharest, this December in Belgrade. Chinese, pledged $10 billion US fund, and they are for entire Eastern Europe. They are rather active. In Macedonia, they are building this Mother Teresa highway toward Ohrid, from Tetovo to Ohrid. In Montenegro, Bar Boljare from the Adriatic port of Bar to Serbian frontier. Then part of highway from Montenegro frontier to Belgrade. They are about to accomplish next year new bridge across the Danube in Belgrade. They're investing in Serbian power plants. They opened Great Wall Motors car factory, first one in Bulgaria. And Chinese have their interest in the Balkans. After in 50s and 60s, they have very interesting relations with Albania. Now they want to play. They have their Balkan perception of the idea of their presence. And last but not least, I would say that fifth players are some Arab countries. For example, if you fly Air Serbia, former Yugoslav Airlines, Air Serbia is 51% ownership of Etihad Airlines. Emiratis Al Dahra is buying large portions of land, arable land in Vojvodina, investing in some high-tech industries in Serbia. So I would conclude, sum up, that the Balkans, that 25 years ago believed that it finally is going to accomplish its historical journey in the last 2 centuries to become part of Europe. Bulgarian historian Maria Todorova, author of famous Imagining the Balkan books, believes that Balkanization, that have pejorative meaning in the West, in fact was named for this process of Westernization of the Balkans. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know, but the picture I just offered to you doesn't look that Balkan is going to be. A friend of mine, Croat professor Dejan Jovic, believes that EU should push Western Balkan integration because 5 or 10 years from now, the Balkans might turn to what it always was. It means buffer zone between East and West, between post-Soviet Russia, stronger Turkey, Arab, Muslim, Mediterranean world. And we can see that indications for all of that. Whether this picture is just temporary, how say, spot of the Western Balkans, I can't say. It's just a matter of something that we can discuss. But I would like to stop here, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Professor Simic, for this very strategic and historical outlook. Let me give the floor to the second panelist, who is Dr. Rizvan Süleymani, who participates from the Republic of Macedonia. He's a professor at the State University in Tetovo. He's the chairman of the NGO, Macedonian Center for International Cooperation, and formerly he was an MP in the Macedonian Parliament, and he was the Minister of Local Self-Government.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to say you as an organizer, thank you very much for giving me opportunity to address you and to express my view about the situation in Balkans, especially inside Albania's community, not only in Macedonia, but in Kosovo and Albania. But first of all, I would like to express my view, where is Balkan, or to try to answer the question where Balkan is today. I would say nowhere. Why? Because definitely we, for 10 years or 20 years, we are trying somehow to escape from the East to join the West. But as far as we are going, we are losing the West, and the East is coming to us. We don't like East, but they are coming to us. And we are in the same position. I suppose that there are some historical arguments why it's so. Especially I would like to be concentrated to Albanians' situation. Why Albanians, who are majority of them Muslim people, and they like so much Europe, and they are maybe the most European-orientated people in the Balkans. On the other side, if you see the position of Albanians towards EU and NATO, they are lost in that pathway at NATO. What is the reason? Is it a choice of Albanians, or it is a destiny of Albanians to be so West-orientated? I would say that the answer to this question you could find in the history of creating an Albanian nation and identity. This history, my friend Starova says that it is permanently escape from the East toward the West, meaning to the modernization. And why so? Because, you know, in 19th century, where Albanian intellectuals promoted the idea after the French Revolution of identity, they knew that Albanians living under the Ottoman Empire, they are divided and they accepted 3 different religions. And the only way to keep together, they need to build another identity, which is national identity, which will upper every other identity. And the slogan of this is known as religion of Albanians is Albanianhood, meaning that all other differences we need somehow to forget, and we to accept one identity. It is national identity. Normally, for all this story, you need to have a myth, and we founded it in to the George Kastriot Skanderbeg, a famous who was born as an Orthodox Christian Albanian, but he ended as a soldier in the Ottoman Empire. But definitely one day he decided to leave the East army and to go in the Albania and to try to establish its own kingdom, Albania, and to defeat the West. You see this combination. In one person you will find Christians, Muslims, West, and the East. And during all the history, you will see this line, permanently a tendency of Albanians to escape somehow from the East toward the West. Definitely, we have, even we are living in many countries, in 5 countries at least in Balkans, we have something common. We have a common language, we have a common myth, and we have a common flag. and flag is also coming from this period of time, from Castriot history. But I suppose that everybody of you who had the opportunity to meet Albanians from Albania, Kosovo, or from Macedonia, we will take impression that Albanians from Albania, they are more internationalist. Albanians from Kosovo, they are more nationalist. And Albanians from Macedonia, they are more religious, which is true. And why is it so? Again, we need to go in the history. You know, after the collapse of the Ottoman Empire and the Austro-Hungarian Empire, a part of Albanian territory, they proclaimed independence. But unfortunately, they were independent, but never they were sovereign. Because during this period of time, permanently there was somebody from outside who created politics inside Albania. First of all, it was a kingdom from the famous family from Austro-Hungary, King of Albania. After that, they proclaimed our king Ahmet Zogu, but supported by Serbia. After that, they founded a liberalist like Fan Stelianoli, who was a pope, Christian pope, but who was educated and lived in Istanbul, but was under the influence of the East. And you see the permanent politics of whenever they develop their own national politics. On the other side, people who stayed outside of this territory, the kingdom of Serbo-Croatian kingdom, they enjoyed through 3, at least maybe 4 migration. The first migration was after the Second World War, where Albanians, mostly Muslim Albanians, need to leave this territory towards Turkey. Orthodox Albanians, they were under strong pressure and they became assimilated. No anymore Albanians, Orthodox Christian Albanians in the former Yugoslav territory. Christians, Roman Christians, they moved towards Croatia because they were Catholics, and they also know they are not existing anymore. And this is why, where we are talking today, when we are talking about the Albanians, usually the impression is that all of them, they are Muslim. And normally the second migration was during the communist regime, known as, which already was mentioned by Professor, Rankovic regime, and definitely the third one under the Milosevic regime. Normally being so permanently pressed, Albanians who lived under these regimes, they permanently needed to create some kind of defense mechanism, and normally they increase the nationalism as a mechanism to defend themselves. And it's why today the impression is that Albanians, Kosovars especially, they are rebels, they are people who permanently somehow oppose and are nationalist. It was imposed. On the other side, Albanians under the communist regime, they developed internationalism based, and the main identity was ideological identity, not national religion identity. But both of them, the only way to overcome this situation is so towards Europe. Albanians in Albania, they wanted to escape from this situation, promoting the idea that we need to be near to the West because the East is the communist regime. Albanians in Kosovo also, they said, okay, the only way to overcome this situation is we need to be with the West, and they promoted this idea. And you see that even we have so big differences as Albanians, we have a common path, Europe and Western orientation. Definitely, 1919, Albanians saw themselves to be part of this club. Let's say, after the bombing of NATO in Serbia, definitely we saw, okay, we are now in the club where we would like. But unfortunately, things changed, especially changed after the crisis, European crisis. Europeans, they lost the interest for the Balkans, not only political, but especially investments, they were cut. And this empty space was fulfilled with a Turkish investment, but not only investment, with the films, movies, schools, high schools. Normally, Russia is here to support or to give us the gas and energy. And definitely the things they are not saying. My impression is that today we are living under the, so I am calling, three-crown empire. Russia is giving us energy, Turkey is giving us financial support, and Germany is giving us hope that definitely one day we will be EU. Normally, we know we are faced with the situation where the door of the NATO they are closed, and EU has no idea what to do with Balkans. Only what they would like to continue, they would like to keep in life the hope that one day Balkans will be in Europe. And how it reflects inside the Albanian's politics, definitely now we have divided society. Political elites and intellectuals, they are in favor of EU and NATO. The majority of Albanians, still the public opinion shows that they are in favor of EU and NATO. But unfortunately, day by day, we will see people who are frustrated. And they express their frustration in a different way. And what is the situation now? From my point, it is a very difficult situation. We are entering in the circle. Elites, political elites who are promoting permanently the idea of European integration and NATO, they are very corrupt. By the definition, the best definition which I heard in a conference in Berlin says that the definition of the extremism and terrorism is corrupted state and organized crime. Corrupt elites produce extremism and terrorism, and normally now is the problem how to solve this problem. EU, from my point of view, they still stay in the position they need to support somehow elites, existing elites, because they are promoting, they still say that the future is in Europe, even they know that the door they are closed, and they are afraid if we allow other forces to come in the power, then they will continue to be in the same power. From my point of view, it's a very difficult situation. And how we are managing this situation, how we are existing in these circumstances. The best people who are well educated, they are going in the West. The mediocres, they are somehow trying to survive. And then the frustrated people, definitely, they are, fortunately, few of them, they are going in the East, in Iraq, in Iran. And what to do? From my point of view, being in that situation, we need to find a way how to manage. How this situation not to be used by the politician for their political agenda. To put us again in the confrontation between each other. And it's why, first of all, what I would like to happen in Balkans is to have agreement, a historical agreement between Serbs and Albanians, not between Serbia and Kosovo, between Serbs and Albanians. Why? Because Albanians and Serbs, we are confronting interests in many countries, in Macedonia, in Serbia, in Kosovo, in Montenegro. Albanians today, they are one of the main factors. Maybe they don't have capacity to push Balkans towards Europe, but they have enough capacity to create problems. And it's why, from my point of view, we need to find a solution how to have this agreement of this historical, let's say, visual. If we try to do it through our friends, we have a lot of friends, but my impression that will be much more complicated. The problem is whether we have our inside capacity to do it. You see, Rama, the Prime Minister of Albania, he's trying to promote himself as a leader of Albanians and normally to create a new atmosphere in Balkans. In Whither, in Berlin, he said that I am going to visit, to have a historical visit in Belgium. But unfortunately, usual, there are obstacles. And unfortunately, what happened in this football match. And now the problem is what kind, whether it will be history or just will be opened once again historical problems. I think that European dream in the majority of the population is still in life, but the problem is how long. Normally Turkey is present not only with the investments, but a lot with the films, culture, schools, high schools, and day by day, this opinion is going to change, especially if the door of European Union stay closed. On the other side, Serbia, as my colleague says, they are facing with a very deep crisis. Macedonia, story of Macedonia is known. We are a multi-ethnic state. We have a completely different view about the future of Macedonians. Albanians, they are oriented towards Europe and NATO as soon as it's possible. On the other hand, Macedonians, they are very much concerned about their identity, and they try somehow. The position of EU is that problem between Albania and Greece is a bilateral problem. My position about this problem is if the position of the EU stays still that it is a bilateral problem, it never will be solved. Why? Because it is completely asymmetrical. 2 million Macedonia with multi-ethnic Macedonia and 10 million Greece, member of NATO, EU, with also strong economy, military forces. To solve bilaterally this problem is not possible. We need somebody to balance this balanced conflict. Unfortunately, for the moment, we don't see it. This third part, we will try to balance and somehow to work. Even to be honest, I'm not so sure that the name issue is the biggest problem. From my point of view, the biggest problem for the moment is that the position of EU, that the door will be closed at least for the 5 years. And the only hope to stay. But it's very difficult somebody today to predict what will happen after 5 years. Having in mind all what already was said by my colleagues, that other forces that are influencing the Balkans and how will we manage the situation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Süleymani. This was also a very good overview about the Albanian factor in the Western Balkans and also about Macedonia, situation of Macedonia. From the two speeches, I think we are convinced that the most important element, which is one way or another connected to other political issues, is the Europeanization, is the future or the course of Europeanization. And as the third speaker, we will probably get some viewpoints from the European side of this equilibrium or of this conundrum. So I will leave the floor to Mr. Stefano Fantaroni. He is the first counselor at the delegation of the European Union to Turkey. and he's a political officer dealing with foreign policy issues.
Thank you, Mehmet. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's a pleasure for me to be here, and I would like to thank CETA for this event. I would like also to spend 2 words about the study that was published. It's quite impressive, and I would like to plead for the translation in English, because I'm sure that it will be read with interest in many other quarters. I've sensed and heard some skepticism about the EU strategy and the EU interest in the Western Balkans from the previous speakers. And having the privilege of being the last speaker, I will try also to dispel a little bit these perceptions. Professor Simic mentioned that this year is the 25th anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall, but this year is also, there are also other anniversaries. First of all, it's the 100th year of the start of the World War I, which is, I think, a stark reminder of how regional crises can easily escalate and become global problems. Second is also the 10th anniversary of the big wave enlargement in 2004 of the European Union. And I count in this enlargement also the 2007 enlargement to Bulgaria and Romania and the 2013 enlargement with Croatia, of which I was a small part of the team. Finally, I would also mention that just a month ago, the European Commission published the progress reports and the strategy paper related to the Western Balkans and Turkey, where it again lays out the vision and the strategy for Europeanization of the Balkans. Now, of course, it was not after the First World War but it was after the Second War, even perhaps more deadly than the first one, that the European nations finally decided to put grievances and history behind and to create what was a common future and what was so far the biggest and most successful peace project in the world. And in the space of just 2 generations, the reality is that this war-torn continent has transformed itself into the largest economy in the world, the largest trading bloc in the world, the largest provider of development and humanitarian aid in the world, and it's also increasingly an active global player on security and foreign policy. It is a fact that the European Union today, despite the perceived crisis, is still a model which many countries and many regions are looking at. If you think about the ASEAN countries, Central American countries, African Union, they are all looking at the European Union as a model to aspire to and as a laboratory to increase economic and regional integration. It is also true that the European Union remains a kind of beacon of attraction in the neighborhood. The 2004 enlargement, which I mentioned, it is a fact that it provided a clear guidance to deal with the political vacuum that emerged after the collapse of the Soviet system. It is a fact that today, and in many of the Western Balkan countries, there is a need to reform the public administration. So this approach, I think it is an approach that has, by the way, been largely confirmed by Commissioner Hahn in his hearing in the Parliament. It is a strategy that will be continued to be implemented. And I will come to speak also about the new setting of the European institutions, because there is some fear about what is going to be the new approach of the institutions towards enlargement. Now, the main aim of this approach is that to put the focus of the authorities of the countries to the fact that the enlargement and the accession negotiations are not to be seen and are not to be conducted as just ticking boxes in the chapters of the negotiations. The approach is that the countries have to deliver crucial reforms, to implement these reforms, and to provide solid track records of these reforms. So this is a kind of strategic shift towards the accession process. This is crucial for, as I said before, for the credibility of the enlargement process, which is also being questioned in certain sectors of the public opinion in the European Union. And with this, I come to the point that I wanted to make about the new political landscape in the European Union following the European Parliament elections last year. I heard many colleagues and friends here in Ankara questioning the new trend, political trend in the European Union because of the share of the votes that have been taken by some, I would call them, out of mainstream parties, kind of not standard parties in a way. This leads also to questioning and to put some uncertainty on what policies the Commission and the European institutions will follow in the new setup and the new appointments that have been made in the European Union institutions. On the first point, on the European Parliament elections, I think it is a fact that many out of mainstream parties got quite large shares of the vote. This is undeniable. I'm not going to deny it. And I think this is something that our political leaders in the European Union will have to take into account in the next few years if they do not want this problem to grow. But having said that, I think the rise of these populist parties should not be overestimated. They got some important shares of the vote in some countries, but the fact is, in the European Parliament, the mainstream parties, which is the Socialists, the Popular, and Liberals, they still have an extensive majority in the Parliament, which means that, in my opinion, the policies of the European Union have been questioned by the electorate, but they have not been ditched by the electorate. There is some discontent, but it's not that big. The second, I think that the rise of these parties lies more in the domestic politics rather than in the desire of a re-entrenched European Union, an inward-looking European Union. In fact, enlargement was nowhere in the political discourse going to the elections, which is why we should not read the outcome of these elections as a condemnation of the enlargement policy, because it simply was not an issue in the elections. And finally, I think there is a tendency to put all these populist and out of mainstream parties in the same pot, but they are very different animals, if you allow me. There are parties who are very solidly pro-enlargement. Many leftist parties are very solidly pro-enlargement. The Five-Star movement in Italy itself is very pro-enlargement. Some others are against. So they all have different political perspectives and political ideas on the enlargement. And putting them in the same political pot, I think, would be a great mistake. The message that they are sending is completely different, and in my opinion, is not particularly linked to the enlargement. I would say that, I would reiterate that the electorate in the European Union has sent a very important signal to the domestic leaders, and it is a signal that should be heeded and should be listened to. For the enlargement, what needs to be done, it actually confirms the need for the strategy that has been laid out, because if anything, it confirms the need to reinforce the credibility of the process and the need for the strict conditionality of the process to ensure that all countries that will be joining the European Union will be ready when they join into the European Union in order to avoid this kind of criticism. Now, I just mentioned briefly, since not much time is left, the new institutional setup in Brussels. We were speaking before about the remarks of President Juncker during his hearing in the Parliament, where he said that there will be no enlargement in the next 5 years. My impression is that this statement has been read more as a policy statement that it actually was. I think President Juncker, what he actually said, he was basically stating a fact. Because if you look at the complexity of the enlargement negotiations, and if you look at the status of the enlargement negotiations with any of the countries with which we are negotiating, it is pretty evident that the accession of any of these countries in the next 5 years is, to say the least, unlikely. It is simply in the cards that this will take some more time. Some are saying also that the enlargement policy is being weakened because it has, the Department for Enlargement has been merged with the Department of Neighborhood Policy. I don't think so. I think actually that the merging of the two departments will provide much more coherency and consistency to these two policies, which are in any case aimed at our neighborhood. In addition to that, I think the new structure of cluster of commissioners, and in particular for the foreign policy, for the foreign relations, under the coordination of the High Representative Mogherini, it is actually a great opportunity because it will ensure the coherency for all EU policies related to foreign affairs under one single head. And the team of the High Representative Mogherini, her head of cabinet is the outgoing ambassador of the European Union delegation, Mr. Manservisi, will ensure probably that actually the enlargement in the Balkans, the Western Balkans, and Turkey will remain high on the agenda of the High Representative and of the EU institutions. 2 words for concluding. The strategy of the European Union towards the enlargement in the Balkans is very clear. The countries belong to the European Union. This is very clearly said, starting from Thessaloniki to all other declarations. But this is not a free ride. It's not a granted outcome, the negotiations. The accession negotiations, and especially the current political climate, will remain a strict conditional process. And it will be the responsibility of the political authorities and the political elites of this country to deliver. The European Union will be there to support the process. Member states will be there to support the process, not least with financial assistance, which is on a different scale from any other financial assistance from any other country in the world. But the problem is that the political leaders in these countries will have to live up to the expectations of their people and deliver to the reforms, not for the sake of the EU, but first and foremost for the sake of their own citizens. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fantaroni. It appears that each party is expecting something from the other party in terms of this accession to be fulfilled. So we will see the commitment of the leaders in the region and also whether they will be able to resolve their own problems amongst themselves. And I think this will also be very crucial in terms of Europeanization and European Union accession processes. And also in some countries, we know that there is a lack of consensus about full integration to Euro-Atlantic institutions. So there is a mixed picture in terms of that. So this is also a complicating issue with regard to the potential blocks to emerge or to continue in the region. I think many questions arise from this picture, which is drawn by 3 different perspectives. And I would like to open the ground for questions. I would like to ask the audience to keep the questions as focused and as concise as possible. And sorular Türkçe'de olabilir. Doktor Bey. Peki, size biraz sonra vereceğim.
Hello. I will try to formulate my question based on the remarks of the moderator, who was saying that apparently it is needed a Europeanization of our societies in order to be able to overpass our problems in the past. I mean, all the nations in the Balkans. I would like to ask our two distinguished professors, despite the fact that you may ridiculize the problems in the stadium by the drone, etc., after not hearing thousands of people calling to kill Albanians, and after thousands of Albanians and Bosnians killed during the, as you called, the civil war of Yugoslavia, how can we possibly throw behind us our problems where not even a single Serbian leadership has never apologized for these crimes, so that we could look farther to our journey toward Europe? And to Professor Ridvani, is it, did I understand right that the only potential that you think that Albanians may have is their potential to create problems? Thank you.
Could you identify yourself, by the way?
I'm a security specialist from Albania.
Okay.
Well, good questions without good answer. You are right. Even before the flag was brought by drone, part of the stadium were shouting, "Kill Shqiptar, kill Albanian." And in our communication, perhaps for our Turkish, in Serbian language, the word Shqiptar, sounds of eagles, I think, is used in a very pejorative sense. As much as in Albanian they have their own pejorative term. So I'm quite sure that we will hear more of it, since our representation will have to play. And it's not only a matter of Serbian-Albanian relations. The key person at the stadium was Ivan Bogdanov, the beast, arrested and purged from Italy for being one of the key leader of these violent groups. I'm not trying to underestimate their importance, because those football fans, these extremists, were practically the first volunteers in the war in Croatia. I'm talking about Željko Ražnjatović Arkan. And I would not like to underestimate their importance. But the fact is that their behavior is the same also in the local. They had, for example, two main football teams, Red Star and Partizan. They call each other undertakers or gypsies. Sorry to use that term, but that's how it is. And this is part of these extremist football fans. What I see more important is the frustration that are bringing, because they come from these young, unemployed. I don't want to pardon them, but to say that they are product of one atmosphere that exists, that generates in the Balkans crime, organized crime, a lot of smuggling, adding to this negative picture of Balkans and Balkanization. And I would like to also to ask you, do you know in which field there was never nationalist conflict between Serbs and Albanians and Montenegrins and Macedonians? our mafias never fought each other. Our mafias are perfectly cooperating. Even in 1999, in 98, throughout 1990s, practically the mentioned Željko Arkan, who was a symbol of these paramilitary forces making havoc in Bosnia, in northeast Bosnia, in eastern Croatia, they were cooperating with Albanian counterparts. Once in Jakova, I think you pronounce, two members of his created political party, because he got killed, were beaten by Albanians. And we fear that that might spark the conflict. Next day, he expelled these two members of the party for provoking Albanian co-citizens, simply because they were operating together. And we know that. Not only Albanians, not only Serbs, not only Montenegrins, sometimes jokingly calls the Marlboro land known for traffic, or Macedonia, or even Bulgaria, and absolutely Serbia. We are creating this world where crime and organization are companion of this desperation of failed transitions so far, of the desperate economic situation. Our pro-European political elites does not have, even with this statement of that gentleman mentioned from the EU, of Junckers and Johannes Hahn repeated the same. Simply, that does not leave much hope for some common ideal, European ideal. I hope that Merkel initiative bringing Rama to Belgrade might help. My Albanian friend believes that perhaps it was hectically organized. Perhaps Rama should come to Belgrade immediately after Berlin, thus lowering the tensions and not naively entering into the football match between Serbian and Albanian national representation. That would be anyhow high-risk match. Perhaps we shouldn't meet at all, like Azerbaijan and Armenia are not playing for the time being, or for that matter, Spain and Gibraltar. Perhaps we should play in the empty stadiums for the time being. We cannot forget 1990s. Albanians have their part of history. Serbs believe that Albanians in 81 sparked destruction of Yugoslavia. So these things are unsolvable. They simply need somebody to say now is the moment and to manage this. I mentioned the Turkish role between Bosniaks especially and Serbs, and even in between Serbia, Republika Srpska and Turkey is not quite popular in Republika in Banja Luka, but nevertheless, there is a balance. I hope that disputes I heard between Macedonians and Greeks is ready to be solved, but they need somebody high above to say, look guys, now this is it. They're hoping for some Americans, but some Americans probably wouldn't do that because they don't give them for time being for the Balkans. And by the way, from Serbia and Kosovo, there are now over 550 or 40 volunteers in ISIL fighting, including some Saddam officers that studied at military academies in former Yugoslavia. So in principle, I do believe, and I sincerely hope that the moment has come for this meeting. I'm not a great optimist because we do have historical heritage, but I think that it's manageable. And at least I believe that with properly managed, year from now, a football match between Serbian and Albanian representation, or simply Serbian and Albanian team, could pass without unusual offenses. We would hate each other, we would have transparent torches and usual, but I should say at the end of answer, you saw about hundreds people entering stadium, even attacking some of Albanian football players. But large part, 90%, remained on their seats and were not trying to provoke any further conflict. Whether it's enough, it's just a matter whether glass of water is half full or half empty. This is...
Okay, definitely I think that I was misunderstood because I said that Albania have only capacity to make wrong things. Just the opposite. Albanians show that they have excellent capacity to do excellent things. Everybody, I suppose, that know that Mother Teresa is Albanian. I suppose that people who are dealing with the science know that Ferit Murati, who is also a novelist, is Albanian. A lot of scientists all around the world, they are Albanians. At least, I suppose that you know that half of the representation of Switzerland, they are Albanians, singers and so on. Unfortunately, all these capacities coming in the power outside of Albania, outside of the Kosovo. The question is how this capacity to come or to be shown inside Albanian society. About this idea, there are at least 3 points of view. Some scientists, analysts says that Albanians never will come in the power to show their capacity as long as they are divided in 5 states. Maybe we need to create one national state and to come all these values to be shown. Others says that we cannot create a common state as long as we are not as a society clear with our position. And the third one, which is naive from my point of view, and mostly promoted by the politician, that all these things will come in the power if we one day become member of NATO and European Union especially. From my point of view, it is a naive position, because integration in the EU is a closed pocket. Nobody opened, nobody discussed cost benefit. What does it mean to be member in EU and then NATO? And I remember when I was in a conference in Dubrovnik, when I was very proud and said that Albanians 90% are in favor of NATO and EU. Somebody said me, oh, it's not so good data. Why? It means that nobody is thinking, or it means that you don't have debate about this. Because it's not possible 90% of people to be in favor of EU. But it's possible if you don't have debate. Normally, if Albanians, they cannot find their way to show their potential, it's possible to be problems.
Thank you. Any other questions? Please.
Demirtaş, University of Economics and Technology. My first question is to Professor Predrag Simic. One of the current discussions is about the Serbian foreign policy, because it seems that Serbia has some difficulty to formulate its foreign policy between, on the one hand, Europeanization, but on the other hand, close cooperation with Russia, especially after Putin's visit to Belgrade a few weeks ago. It was again in the headlines. I mean, how do you see the future of foreign policy of Serbia? Because on the one hand, Serbia, of course, will continue on the path towards full membership in the European Union, but on the other hand, it has energy dependence on the Russian Federation, and there are close historical ties between the two countries, and also there are strategic Russian investments in the country, as you also mentioned. I mean, how do you see the future of Serbian foreign policy in that respect? I My second question is addressed to Mr. Fantaroni. You have mentioned that without the European Union anchor, there would not have been any agreement between Kosovo and Serbia. I fully agree with you. But as Professor Simic also mentioned, can we have a similar kind of initiative from the European Union toward the dispute between Greece and Macedonia? Because discussions have been, negotiations have been continuing under the UN framework for years, but there is no solution and there is no light at the end of the tunnel, as we can say. But the European Union has leverage both on Greece and on Macedonia. Do you think that whether the EU can have such an initiative in order to solve, or in order to contribute to the solution of that historical problem? Thank you.
Perhaps this time. Okay, you're right. Serbian foreign policy is now, wavering between Europe and Russia. Serbian society, to put it as simple as possible, is divided into halves. Pro-European. In 1990s, pro-Europeans were the opposition to Milosevic. If you didn't want to support Milosevic and whatever he stood for, you had to be European. And it was generally middle class. Whatever is left of Serbian middle class. At the opposition, at the first great protest after Dayton Peace Agreement in Belgrade, we were carrying the slogans, Belgrade is the world, carrying the flags, and expecting, naively it seems, that after the fall of Milosevic, everything will go like this. That practically we were, bidding. Serbia is entering EU in 2003, 2005, 2007. It was usual gay at the time. Then we were a little bit, cooled down first by request put in front of these post-Milosevic, anti-Milosevic leadership that some people in Serbia found unfair, and that slightly decrease. And listen to me now. And then this post-Milosevic leadership lost 2 years ago elections in favor of post-Milosevic parties. Milosevic parties himself, that changed his policy. New party that came, that emerged from dissidents of Vojislav Šešelj, Serbian Radical Party. And now practically Europeans and anti-Europeans, or nationalists and Europeans, are changed their position. Now we are Eurosceptics, as you witnessed from what I said here. And this is general opinion of those people who were in 1990s against Milosevic, expecting that sooner or later Europe is going. While those people who were in 1990s practically, they are now carrying these 45% of European integration supporters. And that creates this confusion. That creates confusion because initially people supporting Milosevic, mostly Serbs outside Serbia, they, Montenegrins also, especially from the north, they trust Russia historically. Because there is even proverb, we and Russians, we are 200 millions in Montenegro. We, without Russians, we are half track of, it's rhythmic in Serbian verse. Nas i Rusa 200 miliona, nas bez Rusa pola kamiona. Many of those now formerly pro-Europeans are with wholeheartedly pro-Russians. They saw emergence of post-Soviet Russia and Putin as some sort of revenge to all evils they saw were done to Serbs in the 1990s. There were even some young volunteers, unarmed, that went to Crimea, young kids. There were, and we even, Belgrade was liberated from Nazis on 20th of October, but Putin was going to Milano summit with the EU. So we decided to move military défilés 4 days before, just making, and then came a shock for people in power, not for me because I had similar experience when I was advisor to Koštunica in 2002. That Putin, even though he was embraced as the greatest leader, brother, he asked money. And he said, look, you owe $200 million US, and you should see Serbian press, especially this national, patriotic, quote unquote, press, now trying to explain that after all, Miller, director of Gazprom, is a bad guy, but Putin rescued us because he wanted to squeeze $200 million US from us, and Putin would give, two installments of 100. So I think it could have, because you notice that in my initial speech I said that in Kosovo, Russia have, win-win situation. It can play, protection to be protector of great of Serbs, but not only of Serbs, because Kosovo is making nervous many states in the world. Spain with the 2 Kosovos, Catalonia and Baskia, Slovakia with their Hungarian minority, Romania with Transylvania. Even in China, you in Turkey are familiar that Chinese Kosovo is Xinjiang, with Uyghurs, and there are many Kosovos in the world in our perception, sorry, but this is typical Serbian perception. But it can be worse than already it is. So this is, Serbia is now, between two, and my answer is, I will try to answer you first come, first served, because it would be, after all, opportunistic answer. But I personally, I was, after all, I am still one of the. I was one of the founders of European movement in Yugoslavia, then in Serbia, etc. I am Eurosceptic, and seriously, I'm a Eurosceptic because I'm not quite sure that Europeans would manage to emerge from their crisis easily. They have different crises. I was in Paris in 2005 when France voted on referendum against European Constitution, by the way, written by a committee chaired by Valéry Giscard d'Estaing. You know the guy, he is strongly against Turkish entry into Union. Then, when finally Lisbon Agreement settled in pragmatical way this issue, we saw a rise of the Eurozone crisis. Now, with some symptoms of recovery, earlier this year, we saw EU entered into the most serious crisis over Ukraine because it's a question about civil superpower, whether you can be superpower without, especially dealing with Putin, who is not a guy who likes very much to talk about civil society. After all, you Turks know Russians very well, so they believe in much harder, arguments. So the question is how EU would emerge from its own crisis, how it would resolve its identity crisis. It's substantial. It's not just a matter of money. For example, I translated 2 books of Michel Fouché, a famous EU strategist in France. But recently, I hardly hear a lot of debate about new identity, about the development of European Union. Meanwhile, Russians came, you came, and just to make it these serious things less serious. You know that myself and my Turkish colleagues, when we meet, a very good Serbian-Turkish joke. When Serbia is going to enter European Union under Turkish EU presidency, and vice versa, that Turkey would enter European Union under the Serbian presidency, which means never. The most popular after Suleiman in Serbia is now Kurtlar Badisi. My wife is in love with Polat Alemdar, and practically Turkey is sending much more, through this soft power projection, throughout all the day, all over the Balkans, you can witness practically Turkish soap opera influence is enormous. And that means that they simply do not have a clear answer for use. So Serbia is now playing with the idea of neutrality, but it's simply looking around and is quite disoriented, to say the truth.
Well, that's actually very interesting. I just would like to comment on that. I personally see the foreign policy as not a zero-sum game. No, there is a tendency to say it's either with the EU or with somebody else. That's not the case, because as you well know, member states, they have many different foreign policies in many different areas. So that's not an exclusion. It's not excluded that you can join the European Union and still maintain good terms with Russia. That's, I come from Italy. We had long relations with Russia on that. On the difficult question, well, I don't know. That's the simple answer. The point I would like to make is that there is a tendency to see the Greek-Macedonian issue as a unique issue. It never happened before. That is actually not the case. In my experience of enlargement in Brussels, that goes, I don't know how many years, there have been many bilateral issues between acceding countries and member states. And that they have been solved in different ways, depending on the different situations. I was, a first row spectator of the issue between Croatia and Slovenia, which was, at least as complicated as the one that is currently ongoing, and that was solved by the two countries. I think that there is already an initiative, an international initiative ongoing there. So I personally, I stand ready to be contradicted, but I personally don't see an official EU initiative on that. I think that the main ingredient that is necessary to solve this issue is the political will of the two sides. That is, coming from my experience in the previous cases. If there is political will, there is a solution. If not, you can call whoever, it's not solved.
I will take one last question, preferably to Dr. Suleimani, if there is anyone. Your question, and then we'll wrap it up. Sorry.
Thank you very, very much. Let me introduce myself. I am Greek. I work in the Greek embassy here after having served in Brussels for 5 years dealing with enlargement. So it was a dossier for the Turkish negotiations, the Serbian, the Montenegrin, and you can imagine that now I'm intrigued and provoked to take part in the discussion both as a Greek and as a voice from the bureaucracy of Brussels. Congratulations for this event. It was very interesting for me, and it was very valuable to hear the connoisseurs of the history and the politics in the Western Balkans. And of course, Mr. Fandaroni, with whom I have worked. So first of all, allow me to speak as a voice from Brussels and confirm what Stefano has said, that the strategy is there and that it is alive. I have been working for Croatia every day to conclude the negotiations, and it was a case that proved to me that this strategy delivers indeed. As long as the conditionality is met, as long as the obligations that the European Union sets for every candidate are met. So the European Union is not a tribunal, as we all know. It's an international organization, and it has some rules that have to be, some conditions that have to be fulfilled. Correct me if I'm wrong, Stefano. As a Greek, I would make only a very short comment about the difference, the so-called difference between Greece and the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia. Taking motivation from Mr. Suleimani's view, which was very interesting indeed, that as long as it is regarded as a bilateral issue, it will never be solved. Indeed, the European Union in its conclusion says that bilateral disputes should not obstruct the accession negotiations. And the Greek view is that this is not a bilateral dispute, It is a historical issue with a regional dimension that can be traced in the history of more than one countries in the Balkans. So indeed, I would like to ask you, Mr. Suleimani, whether you would agree that it is the political will that would give to the process under the UN the necessary energy and dynamics to resolve this issue at the end of the day. I will not go into the part of compromises that have been made by my country. This was not the discussion in this panel, but I was very much intrigued and in agreement actually with what you said about the political will and you know, the harm that we produce by just naming this issue as the main and the basic bilateral difference that obstructs your country's accession to the EU. Thank you.
Okay, I have to say that it was for 11 years professional politicians, and you know that democracy, all the politics is based on the public opinion. I don't like to be here to make advocacy to the Macedonians because we have as Albania a different point of view about that. But I had an article about this, seeing how a usual Macedonian Albanians see the situation. And I ask myself, and public opinion, Albanian public opinion, does Albania or Albanians have their own strategy? What kind of Macedonians they would like to have? I know that how I see that Greece has its own strategy. We would like to have a state Macedonia without Macedonians. Bulgaria says, yes, we would like to have a Macedonia, but two country, one nation. Serbs says, yes, we would like to be a Macedonia, but two country, one church. And the question is, what is the position of Albanians? What kind of Albanians we would like to, Macedonia we would like to have? How is possible to see so big, dangerous Greece, 10 million member of NATO, EU, so powerful, from a 2 million people, a mixed society? And how Bulgarians see a kind of risk from Macedonia also, and they don't like to recognize their language. And what is the problem of Serbs? Why they cannot recognize the independence of the church? And how Albanians, they are not afraid about this so small country, so problematic, if I may say? What is our position? Our position of Albanians is nothing. Everything will be solved in Europe. But Greece is member of EU and NATO. They are still afraid from Macedonia. Bulgaria is member of NATO and EU, and they are afraid about the Macedonian nation. We are divided in 5 countries. We are not afraid, and we don't have any kind of position. We have only one solution. Let's solve this problem. It's my personal opinion that I also in my paper said that it could produce very big multilateral. And my position was that need to be included in this. But the experience on the other side says that as much as you are enlarging and including more people to solve a problem, it is much more complicated. I also think that maybe, because from my point of view, now we have a different Europe. We had a big Europe without voice. Today maybe we have divided Europe in many dimensions, but with a voice. It is German voice. And we know where is the main telephone, where we need to call and to solve the problem. My expectation is maybe Germany need to be on behalf of EU, maybe, but Germany need to be because Germany is one of the biggest investors and giving the debts, Greece and so on. And we are very much linked because our export, the biggest country is Germany. having in mind that unfortunately that Americans, they are leaving the territory, they are not anymore so interested how they were before. But to say that it will be solved on land, from my point of view, it will be that. It's completely asymmetric. There is a solution. Greece with its army to come and conquest Macedonia, it will be solved problem. But it's not a solution, as well that you know. Other ways, from my point of view, it will be very difficult.
I would like to thank you for, first of all to the participants and also to everyone in the audience. And I very much benefited from this talk, and I hope you will also benefit from our books and you have thought the same about the panel. We hope to see you again in our future events. Thank you very much.